Chapter 5, Man is black, and the sky is blue.
I don't think he's coming,
said Genma. Mjerky nodded and kept running. A distant flute was heard. As they continued running, the sound got louder and louder. Then the noise got extremely clear to hear. They stopped and looked up. A small boy sitting on a tree branch was playing it. He jumped down.
You guys look tough enough. Let me see,
said the boy. He grabbed a mask that looked like an ancient dragon hunter, with green spiky hair and face designs, then put it on. It enlarged his face and he grew into it. He was now that dragon hunter. Taller, stronger, and older, the boy changed completely. He pulled out an elegant sword with a green ruby in between the hilt and the blade. His clothes even changed.
What the?
Whispered Genma.
The name's Link,
said the boy as he prepared to strike. Genma gave an arm and pulled out his shoe. Bam! Link appeared from behind and kicked Genma onto the ground. Genma looked back and saw nothing, nowhere, no Mjerky or Link.
My jerky?
Link appeared out of thin air with a beat-up Mjerky's throat clasped in his hands. He dropped him onto the ground and smiled.
Just had to, with the distractions.
Genma was confused. Link ran up and slashed Genma 4 times, knocking him down. Genma's shurikens had disappeared. He growled and stood up. He held his hands out for his shurikens. He felt an incredibly powerful force, as if having his insides pulled out. 2 spots appeared in thin air and eventually ripped out 2 holes in reality. Inside was a swirling white cortex, and out came his shurikens. The holes closed.
What the hell are you?
Said Genma. Link stared. Mjerky rose up from behind Link and grabbed his flute.
A time traveler,
moaned Mjerky, throwing it fast at Genma. Link shouted out. Genma held out the flute as if going to break it. He didn't, instead he used it and disappeared.
No,
said Link as he fell to his knees. He screamed out. Genma came back.
I put it somewhere safe in the future.
Choked Link. He rushed at Genma with his sword and gave a few attempted slashes, swiftly deflected by Genma's shuriken. Genma tripped Link and grabbed his face. Slowly ripping Link's mask off, it popped off and Link was a little boy again.
Interesting stuff you got here,
said Genma. Link ran at him but tripped.
Give it back, please.
Genma raised an eyebrow and threw the mask at him.
Thanks,
Link said as he ran away.
That guy would have been too strong for everything. How'd he get his hands on such a powerful item?
Explained Genma. Mjerky shrugged and looked around.
At least we stopped him.
They both walked on as if nothing happened.
So how long until we reach this library?
Asked Genma.
Not too long, 1 or 2 days now,
replied Mjerky. Genma looked excited. Approaching an ocean, Jack disappeared and dissolved into water. A small current could be seen as Jack trailed through the water. Underwater, there was a small hole in the ground. He went in the hole and rose up inside of a large mountain. Coming back to his natural form, he dragged the 3 up and laid them in the large room. It was their hideout that was located underneath of a mountain. Jack kicked Lane.
You can get up now,
he said happily. Lane smiled and picked himself up from the floor.
So, what now?
Lane walked over to the table that Jack seated himself at. He was rummaging through piles of books looking for info.
Ah, here it is.
What?
Replied Lane. Jack got up and walked over to the dead bodies. He held his arms out and his eyes glowed and his hair flew up. A portal in mid-air opened up and it flashed a bright color. The bodies grew white and were sucked into the hole. Lane raised an eyebrow.
What the hell?
Jack smiled.
A graveyard for elementals, sort of. It's a temple located in the core of the moon.
Lane raised his other eyebrow.
We can't go?
Exclaimed Lane.
Nope, only dead elementals can get in.
PFFT.
Lane was disappointed.
Oh, I gotta get back to Genma,
said Lane.
Who?
Replied Jack.
An old friend. See ya.
Lane turned into flame and navigated his way through the vents. As night approached, Majerky and Genma stopped for a rest.
I guess we'll sleep here for the night,
said Genma. They both picked a tree and rested against them. 3 hours passed and they both were dead asleep. 6 men in black cloth approached. They all had masks on. Hissed a man not among the 6. It was the general contest winner and had 3 men with him.
General Kuro, are these the guys?
Asked one of the men. Kuro nodded. Pulling out the blade that was given to him, he slowly walked up to the enemies and pointed it at them.
Give up now. You guys are under arrest.
The 6 men giggled and each pulled out a Wakaiser sheath. They jumped away in opposite directions.
Zen, Shin, behind you,
shouted Kuro. The 2 looked back and jumped to the side, evading the attacks. They both countered and slashed the enemies with their swords, killing both. The leader kicked Kuro in the chest, knocking him back into 2 soldiers ready to stab him. Zen threw his sword at the neck of one of those 2, killing him instantly. Before the other could do anything, Kuro stretched back and knocked the head off the man. Behind Shin was the last minion. Before anyone could see, the minion slashed at Shin. Before the blade reached him, a shuriken flung by and slammed the swing down to the side.
Huh?
Said Shin as he broke around, chopping the man down.
Who saved me?
Shin looked around and noticed the guys sleeping on the trees weren't there now. From the leaves of a tree dropped the dead body of the leader. Kuro raised an eyebrow and walked up to the tree.
I see you woke up, Genma.
Genma jumped down from the tree.
Thanks for saving us,
he said.
Thanks for saving Shin,
replied Kuro. They both made a simultaneous nod and looked over at their partners.
Say, you know the special assault tournament happens in a month, right?
Asked Genma. Kuro shook his head.
I didn't. I'll try that. Yup.
Genma stood there.
Yup.
Shin laughed.
Okay, Kuro, we gotta head out to the mountain, remember?
Kuro nodded and walked off with Shu and Zen waving his hand up. Jerky was unseen the entire time since he woke up. Now he was back under the tree sleeping. Genma walked back over to the tree and laid down under it. Hours later they woke up and continued running on their journey.
So,
moaned Jack.
Where do we find the new elemental?
Lane shrugged and opened a pack of cards.
We'll just have to run into him one day, it's far too difficult to go looking.
Jack grabbed the cards and shuffled them.
If I win this, we'll go looking. If you win, we stay here and sit on our butts all day.
Lane smiled and replied.
I didn't say I would do that. There is still stuff that needs to be done. But sure, I'll play you.
They both sat there as Jack dealt the cards.
Someone's coming,
exclaimed Jerky. Genma looked back and saw a flashing red object approaching. The man was in a red robe with spiky red hair. It was Lane.
I guess he really did catch up,
said Jerky. They both stopped and Lane approached. The fast running came to a stop as he finally reached.
Hugh, finally caught up,
said Lane.
How'd it go?
Asked Genma. Lane didn't respond and turned around.
We have to find a new lightning elemental.
Genma's eyes narrowed.
Did you at least kill Zam?
Asked Genma.
Mizo did, yes.
Genma understood.
I'm sorry,
he said.
I'd do it, but I'm only A.
I know, we're good. I'm about to lose this card game, so me and Jack will be out looking.
Ah, so you're just a Flash clone?
He asked. Lane nodded. Jack growled.
Since when were you so good? It doesn't matter. Beat this.
He held out his handful of cards along with Lane. Jack had won.
We go looking in an hour, my dear buddy,
he said cheerfully, dancing to another room. Lane smiled and shook his head.
Yep, I lost, so I'll be going.
Genma nodded and gave a wave as he and Jerky ran off.
We'll be in Valor,
he shouted. Lane nodded and walked away.